Good afternoon, you're listening to the Hover State on Radio Brunel, and it's a Friday afternoon, it's about 4 p.m. right now, and so far it's been a gorgeous but busy week, I'm sure. And if you haven't heard about the show so far, today it's a show where we talk about the major news and major issues of the week. We've got a new format for the past couple of days, past couple of shows, where we talk about the major front pages of today's paper, talking about The Guardian, The Sun, The Metro, and as always, the Daily Mail, because we have to mention that. Today I am joined by a diverse and quite interesting lineup of guests. Today we've got three females and one man. It's quite sort of female dominated today. Starting with the left, I guess you guys just introduce yourself and try not to lie again. But I can't hold you guys. I can't make you guys not tell the truth. But we'll see how it goes. All right.
What up, listeners? I'm Sarah. I'm doing an MA in journalism, and I'm an absolute legend.
Hi, I'm Federica. I'm doing an MA International Journalism at Brunel.
I'm Alex. I'm doing Masters Journalism, and I disproved evolution using pandas.
I love pandas. My name's Amita. I'm an MA Journalism student as well.
And there you have it, Amita, Alex, Federica, and Sarah. Yeah, obviously. We're all known for telling the truth. So, starting off today, The Guardian, headline is, he did say, pleb, in quotation marks, judge's ruling leaves Mitchell's careers in ruins, talking about Andrew Mitchell, the Tory MP and former cabinet minister at the centre of the Pleb-gate. I hate that word now, Pleb-gate. It's now what is it? Oh,
it's a mix from what happened.
A Watergate and everything.
Because he called the police officer plebs, apparently, and they were at the gate, because he was trying to get in.
They now apply gate to anything
That's why it's Pleb-gate.
that ever happens, like Bend-gate. And
Elevator Gate with Beyonce and so on.
Any kind of controversy and it's gate on the end and it's become a serious news story. So
Watergate was probably a bigger deal than a MP calling it.
He just finished his political career. It's serious.
well, that is true. It's kind of a serious matter.
The worst political scandal in history, I think, is.
Justice has been done, though.
I don't really know enough about it to say whether.
I do think it's an extortionate amount of money.
I mean, the thing is that the whole thing has been blown completely out of proportion, but it was his lack of apology which caused the situation.
Well, this turned into a police conspiracy as well, didn't it? Where the police were trying to use it to, I don't know, get some revenge on him for something that he did, and it.
But the fact was that actually he sued News Group, and then News Group obviously went to the court, and once they were to court, the police officer sued him to say that he lied. So it's kind of circle.
I don't think that he needed to sue. I think to say that his political career is in tatters is seems to be overstating things. It's a bit soon to say that, isn't it? Really?
No, I think. I mean, he's paying £3 million for a mistake.
maybe more,
potentially more. And so I don't know. I'd say
it's his own fault for trying to sue, I guess. But
then, is somebody going to trust a politician who has been accused of lying?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily always matter, does it? Unfortunately.
But they all lie. It's fine. Anyway, it's kind of proof. They said that the CCTV camera recording, it proved that it was actually a bit over the line and that he said that. But,
Did you read what the judge said about the policeman? I think it's borderline offensive, but hilarious. He said that he is not the sort of man who had the wit, the imagination, or the inclination in the spur of the moment.
Basically,
what the senior cabinet minister would have said to him.
So the judge has essentially just said, yeah, he was a bit of a pleb, actually. The judge has agreed with him.
Say it. And you're going to have to pay $3 million.
They're going to split the bill in the end. The judge and the politician.
The judge is like, nah,
just going to split.
It's interesting that the judge's judgment was, he says it's a character judgment that he made, because he said the police officer was well suited to his job, and so he believed him on the basis that he feels he wouldn't do something like that, which is a lot of money to base that on.
And what about the word pleb? Do you think it's an offensive word?
It's the
Especially
most
in
ridiculous
context?
word. He called him an effing pleb. There you go, James. I censored myself.
It really
you know.
depends from the attitude that you're using. Say something, you know.
I think given the context, in that he was a millionaire Tory and he was saying it to a policeman. Like, if I called you a pleb, Alex, you know, it would just be a jest.
I would
you know?
take
You're a
you
friend,
to
though.
court. No, you would be taken straight to court if you said that to me. I would sue you for a couple of billion, probably.
I mean, it was for refusing to allow him to cycle through the main vehicle gates, and I just think when he was supposedly in a hurry. I mean, what haven't we said when we're in a hurry and people are walking slowly in front of us and generally getting
we say
in our way?
everything, but we are not a Tories MP though.
No, but
Try to avoid the police when I'm calling people plebs as well. I say that would be the first rule of calling someone a pleb is don't go for a police officer.
Oh.
I mean, maybe if he is being a pleb, but it seems like a pretty drastic overreaction.
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
quick, straight for the word pleb.
Yeah.
That was an expensive error of judgment, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, trying to sue was a very expensive mistake as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, deep down within himself, I mean, he must. It's almost as if he's convinced himself that he didn't say it. I mean, you have to feel pretty confident about the fact that you didn't say something to sue a paper.
That's what I was wondering, especially a paper.
Yeah, but he sued his son.
Yeah, exactly. But you would think then he would feel more nervous about that if he, or certain that he hadn't said it.
If you feel like your political career had been kind of discredited, you would think that rather than trying to sue, you would try and leave it quiet, let it die out, and then try and get your job back.
But maybe
if possible.
He thought as well that was like his word against that one of the police officer, and he didn't think at the fact that there were the CCTV camera or other proof that could have actually.
Maybe so we can make an easy payday as well, because that's going to be, if he won, it would have been a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's obviously backfired on him.
Yeah,
massively.
And I don't think going to court did him any favours. I mean, some of the things that he's been accused of, that he's menacing, he's got a foul temper, he uses foul language, that he's like a Jekyll and Hyde character. It just seems as if he...
But do you really think, Guy, that his career is like really considered finished? Could be considered finished?
It doesn't. I don't think it seems like a big enough deal for it to completely ruin his career. I think he won't be in politics for a little while, but I mean, change of government, people forget his name fairly quickly, won't they, and things like that. If he's not completely bankrupt after he's had to pay all his money back.
So in terms of the money, so he has to pay about £300,000 cost split between the two parties. However, people have been telling the Press Association that the loss battle could cost Mitchell about £3 million. I mean, it's obviously a lot of money. I mean... And it's just a cover of headlines. The headlines of the song was Right Said Pleb, Tory Mitchell insult cop, rules judge. And then the Metro is 3 million cost of calling PC a pleb. It's just, these headlines are ridiculous sometimes, I think.
Oh, that is a strong pun. Jim, come on, you cannot deny a good pun like that.
I love a pun.
I do love a pun too.
The Sun is great about
You've been outvoted.
I have no opinion on puns. Anyway, moving on to our next story. We're moving on to our favourite publication, the Daily Mail. Their headline is Immigrants at Last PM Act. So, I mean, the issues, obviously, Cameron acting over migrants, and he's cracking down on major benefits. But obviously the issue is now, will the EU, the European Union, allow his crackdown on benefits? And so the issue that he has is that he's curbing on tax credits and council houses in a proposal, and it's said to create the toughest regime in Europe, and that net migration is soaring back But the issue is the net migration level is soaring back despite his promise to cut it down. What do you make of that?
Silence.
It's taken a very... It's taken a very long time for this to come about, seeing as immigration's been in the headlines for years and years. And now he's finally said to be doing something about it, but...
He actually said, literally, that we want EU job seekers to have a job offer before they come here, and to stop UK taxpayer having to support them if they don't. EU job seeker who don't pay and will not longer get anything out. And those who do come will no longer be able to stay if they can't find work. And that's the first point of his speech. And the second one is that the British people need to know that change to welfare to cut EU migration will be an absolute requirement in the renegotiation. So, yeah, it's everything based on immigration again.
I think there's nothing wrong with having a reformed immigration policy. I think that you need to be careful not to take it too far and become kind of a closed-off nation somewhere like Australia and places like that, where racism is really a big problem, and it seems to be quite a lot to do with their sort of how tough they are on immigration.
If I'm not wrong, he said that he's ready to ask for a referendum to pull out of the EU if the EU is not going to accept this condition.
I mean, you do have to wonder how much of this, and whether it's too late, how much of this is based on the support that UKIP has had over the last couple of months. Is it that he feels pressured to, keep his supporters, and one of the main issues is immigration.
Euroscepticism does seem to be the way the country's going, and it does seem like all of a sudden David Cameron's come out with this harsh stance. It does seem more like he's trying to retain voters than he is actually trying to do something that he wants to do, perhaps.
It seems a good line to get votes.
But it seems like EU immigration policy is a problem in other countries in the European Union as well. I was speaking to a professor of politics today, and he was saying that Germany has a very... the nation are very tough on immigration. Like the public aren't fans of it, basically, and they don't really like the EU. But then I always saw Germany as one of the countries that was
that's really interesting.
The strongest supporter
I was reading an
of the
article in
EU.
The Guardian yesterday, and they had kind of some nice pie charts. I like a good pie chart, and they compared the German general public's opinion on immigration to the British general public, and they actually found that Germans thought that immigration was a good thing, and that obviously Brits think it's a bad thing. But so that's interesting.
Yeah, we said maybe it's not as much as in this country then, but apparently, the German public can be sceptical of EU, and maybe it's just Angela Merkel that is the one there who is the big supporter as opposed to the entire country.
Mm.
I mean, an interesting point in France is that they are saying they need to build a kind of refugee centre in Calais for the people who are in France, but those in charge in France actually said, it's not that they want to stay here, they want to actually be in England, so we don't want to build this here because it's no use, they all want to come over here.
It's not necessarily likely to stop people trying to get to England either, is it? If you make your immigration laws more strict, people will still try and get here, and people still will get trapped in Calais, and then more likely there'll be more people trapped there.
It's the same happening in Italy. Like people just get trapped in the south of Italy because they can't get out. They don't have the permission to get out, and that's a huge problem. And like we had a European program since I think not even a month ago. It's called Mare Nostrum, and then this operation finished, and we don't really have another solution about it. So. It's a huge problem, I think, in every part of Europe right now. So not just for EU.
I think removing job seekers if they're not in a job within 6 months is very harsh as well. I think that's a very strange way to do things, to let people into the country, and then 6 months is not a long time to be unemployed, because I mean people in this country lose their jobs and can be out of work for forever, can't they, essentially?
Like, will they put services to help people find jobs? Because that makes sense. I'm okay with that. Like, I can understand that actually you don't want everyone coming and just getting your money, but at the same time, it's hard finding a job. It's not that easy.
There are people, aren't they? And what are you going to do? They've uprooted their whole lives to come here with the hope of living better, and then 6 months is not a long time to try and build a whole life, and then just to be completely sent back to where you just left for whatever reason.
I do feel, though, that you can't... I mean, no matter what decision he would have made on immigration, because it's such a sensitive topic, that there would have always been opposing views, and so, I mean, this is what he's proposed, and let's see what comes of it.
And see if it works, yeah.
I just think that the kind of little threat in the EU saying, or you accept this, or we're just going to do a referendum to pull out, it's really influenced by the last result from the UKIP party. I really think is influenced by that.
Can I just say that whole strategy, if you don't agree with us, we're going to pull out, it's so childish that just if you don't follow our rules, I'm going to cry and go home to mommy and say I'm not going to play with you anymore.
Shots fired.
But Germany openly said that, okay, it's really important the presence of the UK in the EU, but they are not open to this kind of thing. They're not going to follow the child crying.
These empty threats are finally being met by some threats from the rest of the EU now, and they're saying, actually, this is part of it. And it's quite interesting that everyone's, we're going to pull out. And then now people have actually said, look, if you're going to keep trying to duck out of these rules and things, then, maybe you should pull out. So someone's finally playing hardball. with David Cameron. But it's strange that he would say that he would support an outvote in a referendum, seeing as he says that he is in favour of being part of a reformed EU. So that's a very, like you say, it's quite a childish response, really. So I want to say, I want to be part of the EU, but reformed, and then to be like, actually, no, I'm leaving. It's two completely different standpoints, isn't it?
I know, and he does have to bear in mind that we can't, whilst we're in the EU, pass any legislation that opposes the rules that they've essentially laid down. So on this front, he might actually have changed his mind and think, okay.
And what do you think about a second point of his speech, where he said, like, foreigners will also be banned from sending millions of pounds worth of child benefit payments and tax credits abroad if they do not bring their children with them into the UK?
I can see his point, I suppose. Don't want the money leaving the country, but then at the same time, that's a lovely thing to do, isn't it? To spend your let's not say hard-earned, if it's child benefit money and things like that. But I guess you shouldn't be claiming child benefits for children that aren't in the country, should you?
The other problem that was talking about is the fact that Albania, Turkey and Bosnia are currently attempting to join the EU, and so probably that's another point that he underlined. He fears that more and more immigrants would like to come to the UK, since obviously they join the EU is going to be much easier for them.
I think we don't want to miss out on skilled workers though, and things like that as well, because most of our doctors are immigrants to this country, and I think there will be a gap, especially because if we do leave the EU, UKIP have been talking about sending people home, haven't they? About basically deporting people.
It's scary. I mean, they really are creating this ghastly culture of intolerance. And causing rifts, which I think don't really need to exist.
How do you feel about it, Federica? Potentially being deported.
Really, really ready to be deported.
I'm okay with that. Actually,
thank you. I know that you'll be that one that is gonna give me a lift to the airport.
It's a kind deed.
Throw you in the back of the van.
I said lift, not throw me in the back.
If you're getting deported, you're not getting a lift. You get thrown in the back of a van.
That's terrifying, guys. On the rise of UKIP, I saw an article, I think, in Evening Standard about the rising of the Green Party. What do you think they have do you think is the time to come out and take power?
I think it definitely is.
The Greens.
Yeah, they came fourth in the by-election in Rochester, and it's really interesting because they're starting to be seen as, obviously getting a quarter of the votes, they're starting to be seen as the opposing party to UKIP.
They're anti-UKIP in every way, aren't they? I think it was the first time they didn't have to pay their deposit. They didn't.
No, they're £500 to run.
Which is fantastic news.
But equally, I think it's sad because they weren't given a voice, were they? They're
not allowed on the. Still not being allowed on the TV, are they?
No. So.
And I think they would make for fantastic viewing, if nothing else. Like I'm not talking about it from a democratic front, but I would personally love to hear a really leftist party enter the debates, just because I think it would be interesting.
They have every right to. They've been around for far longer than UKIP, and have had a consistent following. But I think it's quite nice. One of the positives of UKIP support, I guess, is that it is kind of signifying the end of two-party politics. So rather than people thinking, I'm going to vote for the Conservatives because I don't like UKIP, or I'm going to vote Labour because I don't like Conservatives, or whichever way you're going to look at it,
have a choice.
You can have a choice now, because you can think, actually, if half of the Conservatives are going to UKIP or half of Labour going to UKIP, then I can go to the Green Party without worrying too much about someone that I don't like getting in. I think it could be an end to two-party politics, which would be lovely. And
it might also be the end of one party being in Parliament, because I think it might be one coalition after another, depending on
if you have more and more parties that need a different voting system other than first past the post, then
like in Italy, it's not working, guy. I'll tell you.
Is it not? Is that why you're so worried about deportation?
Right, and on that note, we'll cut to our first song. This is the Queen of R&B and Soul. This is Mary J. Blige with Right Now.
You take from me, so why you holding back? Boy, why you holding back? So baby,
Welcome back to the Corporate State on Radio Brunel, Brunel's University student-run station. Today I am joined by 4 wonderful guests on our show today on Friday's afternoon show. My name, if you don't know, is Jim Wong. And today we talked about the major headlines of the week, talking about Friday's coverage of Derek Cameron's comments on immigration, as well as a little bit on Andrew Mitchell's Tory MP's sort of lost in legal battle. Moving on to stories that caught our eye this week. Amita, who's one of our guests today, mentioned to me an article about obese English people, obese Britain. So Amita, tell us a bit more about this actually.
So it's been proposed that 2 million people could be offered a gastric band or bypass operation. And it costs £6,000 per person, and they feel that this might be a solution for those who suffer from obesity.
And they've said that this will actually save money in the long term, which is
it's said
700. Crazy, but
it's true because the UK is the 4th worst in the world for cancer caused by obesity among men. So 4.4 issues of cases of cancer in men are linked to obesity, while in women it's 8.2%. And the issue, because what if people are concerned about why it's different, why it's double for women, is that because when it comes to cancer, the most female form of cancer for females is breast cancer, and that's increased by extra weight, and there are also close links between womb cancer and obesity. So, I mean, the thing that comes out from this actually is that NICE, which is, I think, sort of a health watchdog, they're suggesting that, we offer this sort of issue, which obviously would cost a bit more money in the short term, but would save UK money for a long term already.
my concern is that I think it's a short-term solution for what
Absolutely.
is actually a long-term problem.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen when the next generation and the next generation of fatties come in wanting gastric bands, for lack of a better word, I'm sorry. What we really... This is fine, and I think I'm sure it will save the NHS money this time, but what we really need to do is start educating children about obesity, and we need to tackle the problem before it becomes a problem.
I have always seen it as quite strange that governments need to do their best to try and keep their population alive. Is it not our job to try and keep ourselves alive? And the government actually have to say, look, if you drink and drive, you might die and you might kill other people. Don't be an idiot. And
if you eat too much, then you got obese, and then you might get diabetes, and then you'll die.
We'll solve this problem for you because you cannot be trusted. But then I guess the evidence is there.
It's a babysitting. It's not a government.
I mean, this one's particularly difficult because it's for people, they're recommending people with type 2 diabetes to actually get it done or have a bypass operation. So I think...
Type 2 is the kind that you get from eating a lot of crap, basically.
So what...
Sorry, can I say crap on air? I just did.
I
just said it again.
Can I say crap on air? Because I've just said crap. Just to let you know.
I would suggest C word, but that probably comes across a lot worse than that, actually. Yeah.
What, cat?
Cat.
But I really find interesting the purpose to, like, the payback, the loan, like, actually how the graduates have to do, like... We have to pay back a loan when we want to study. So why do
why can't they apply back to individual abuse?
Yeah, I don't agree with that view at all.
My degree is doing the exact opposite of prolonging my life. I'm actually finding it like shortening my lifespan.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't. I don't agree with that view at all. I think it's coming from. I mean, is it Simon who said this? Yeah. It's almost as if he doesn't. We're forgetting that obesity is quite misunderstood.
No, completely joke.
Yeah, I know you guys are joking, but it can affect your entire life, and it's almost an eating disorder in itself. And so I think what he's saying is quite ridiculous, but I do completely agree with Sarah that we need to educate the generations to come.
Yeah, I think at the moment the precedence is being set that you can get fat and then just get a gastric band, and that and that's fine.
The state will sort
that's
it out
not
for you,
fine at all.
No, it's not.
We need to educate people about living a healthy lifestyle.
It's often as well a psychological problem. Like it's not just a physical exercise problem, or so. Probably.
I think it's great if it is cheaper in the long run because obviously NHS is under massive stress, but you can't just say have a gastric band, that's going to solve our problem.
No,
you need to, but then they've tried the campaigns and schools tried to get people involved in things, and it makes you think, what else can you do?
What I'm actually
close the kebab shops.
Surprised of is that not always it does work actually. Like they don't even mention the cases in which actually this system is not working.
No,
because I'm sure there are. Because I know personally person that actually have done it, but it didn't work on them.
So yeah, two-thirds of the patients who have it show no sign of the disease 2 years after having this surgery, but a third actually continue to still have type 2 diabetes and struggle with their weight issue.
I think a lot of the problem with people that are obese, and especially people that get diabetes because of their eating habits, tends not to be the amount that they're eating specifically, but it tends to be what they're eating. Because you don't have to eat much takeaway for it to be really bad for you because of the amount of salt, because of the amount of sugar that you take in and that sort of thing. That this isn't going to stop people. This is not going to make people eat less, because that wasn't their problem anyway. The problem was their diet specifically.
I mean, I just wonder, I don't know what the rest of you think, but do we think that we're at that stage already where short-term measures drastically need to be taken because it's getting so bad? Or do you feel that we shouldn't be doing that at all? It's encouraging it, and we should start with the long-term kind of educating people.
From the financial point of view,
it depends from what perspective you're looking at it.
And a lot of people are in trouble from this, basically. 24,000 people a year dying from type 2 diabetes.
I think it's a huge expenses for the NHS, and it's probably could be convenient actually for them. But at the same time, I think that educate people is the basis, and then they can act right now because they need it. But then just a plan B would be.
I think we have
to
tackle this problem at every level. So we need short-term solutions and we need long-term solutions. I think this is a good short-term solution, but it's not going to solve the problem.
I think we should make all vehicles illegal. I think that's the only way to actually solve this problem.
That is our problem. We're far too comfortable. We have everything far too readily available. We don't.
Jean, what's the problem? The program that we've seen, that when they were sending text messages to the obese people to try to push them to just take the stairs.
I know that it was on Russell Howard's Good News.
There you go.
Where they have tried this in one particular place in England, where they're saying they'll send you a text message to encourage you to, it'll be things like, why don't you walk up the stairs today? And have you eaten a piece of fruit today?
Which
why don't you think they walk to the shop?
People listen to their phones.
Yeah. I would find it very rude. Like, I don't want my phone telling me what to do. Thank you very much. Please don't tell me to take the stairs.
And as Russell Howard. God, I'm sorry. I'm just causing more controversy.
Sorry, Russell.
As he said in his show, I know. As he said in his show, it's you don't know who's getting the message. It might be someone in a wheelchair, and you're saying walk to the shops. It could be.
And if you get the wrong number and start sending it to an anorexic
I
person,
thought you meant that you had to sign up for these alerts, but it's just a blanket. They're going to text everybody.
I don't know.
I think they can say
it's like U2's bloody. Sorry,
I don't really know how does it work. I just found it really.
You
funny.
can't say like, "Good morning, Sarah. How do you feel today? How about you?" I think
take the stairs, Sarah.
Like, I live on the ground floor. There's nothing else to take.
Lazy us.
How long until it starts kind of telling you to start robbing banks and things like that as well? Yeah. I mean, it's
if
inevitable.
If it told you to jump over a cliff, would you do it, Alex?
That's quite. How big is the cliff that I have to jump over?
And into what? The ocean? I'm
so many questions.
But before I go on to sort of an additional point, so those who don't know what a gastric band is, it's a band that's used to reduce the size of the stomach, so a smaller amount of food is required to make someone feel full. While a gastric bypass is when the system for digestion is rerouted past most of the stomach, so less food is digested. So I was talking to I think it was yesterday, to a group of old ladies, and they were saying, back in the day, as I do, but back in the day, they used to walk in the park, they used to go out at night, just walk, and like, they didn't have to like take a car or anything. And I think, do you think that's an issue of how, for one thing, obviously security. I mean, I think not people want to have their kids outside like past sunrise and sunset actually, and past the nighttime. But I mean, that issue of like where do kids spend their time now? On a computer screen and indoors? They don't really go out.
They do. It's a big issue right now.
Yeah.
Video games are pretty good these days. There's not really much reason to leave the house, is there?
No. And the internet is great.
and the radio, Jim. Don't forget.
We know how much exercise you do, Jim. Now.
I'm always inside. Moving on to our next story. It's called. I don't know why I put this down, but I put it down as Flog a Dinosaur, but it's not really Flog a Dinosaur. So, also suggested by Amita today. It's So it's an issue of female individuals being used to help market and sell art. So, I mean, Amita, do expand on this.
So what it is they are suggesting that this is taken from this week, where 2 female Christie's employees found themselves in front of Andy Warhol's Triple Elvis, and then a woman in her 20s who was posing prettily under a T-Rex replica in auction houses. What they're saying is that they're getting these younger women to come in to sort of flog these antiques because it will persuade people to buy it and give in and open their wallets more easily, and I just think it's ridiculous. That is my view.
Kind of inevitable.
I think I totally agree with this view. Fortunately, the girl, if I'm not wrong, was saying actually that the buyers and the women in the sector are like growing in numbers, so it won't probably be necessary anymore. This girl adds on in front of a dinosaur. That is actually sounds really funny.
And I do also. It reminds me of an article I read recently in kind of the gadget show and things like big gaming events where you invite people, that they always have women at all the stores kind of there, and one of the people was saying that 50% of people who actually play games are now women, and they're not actually staying in touch with the people who are actually using these products. They can't just base it on a stereotype anymore, and I think that they are perhaps going by an old-fashioned view that, okay, in these auction houses it's predominantly men. Is it? You don't know.
Yeah, I don't think this is anything new. I mean, men who buy beautiful art are clearly interested in the aesthetic and beautiful things and
Strong argument.
So, I think it's an excellent sales strategy. It's incredibly sexist, but
how many of them get distracted and think that they're actually bidding on the woman as well? I mean, it's quite likely that they are. Yeah, actually. I can go a little bit extra. But it's inevitable though, isn't it? Because they do it for everything now. You have a half-naked woman advertising absolutely everything.
Poor them. Think of the surprise when they opened the packet and they found just the antiquity instead of the woman. It's like
just a Monet. That's not what it's
Jesus.
Just a Monet.
It's not what I paid for.
Yeah.
All I'm asking for is equality, though. I think, if there's going to be an aesthetically pleasing woman, get a man up there as well,
Man and some Calvin Kleins. I'm with you.
Equality for the
No,
sexes.
I think that's
I'm
great.
absolutely
You really
fine
wanna
with
be there,
using
Alex.
sexy
I really
people
want to be a Calvin
advertise
Klein
art,
model. I
but,
just really need that job.
If
anyone's out there who works for Calvin Klein, I'm available.
Not Abercrombie and Fitch. No.
I hate Abercrombie and Fitch.
No, because then you have to stand in the entrance and pose with everybody that comes in who wants a picture taken with an Abercrombie and Fitch model.
They're all 14.
Exactly.
It's just creepy, guys. Just so creepy.
Why do you do it, Jim?
I know. That's my day job. Go to
What's the night one?
Well,
wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, exactly.
Dirty radio shows, probably.
Hey. We'll go to our next song. This is Alt J with Hunger of the Pines.
Butterflies and needles line my seamed up joint, encased in case I need
Time is now 4:42 on this Friday afternoon, and we're talking about the news and issues of the week. Previously, we talked about obese British people and female individuals being used as art models. Moving on now to quite a controversial topic. Well, not really, actually. I mean, to me, it makes a lot of sense. The issue of good paedophiles. So, on Tuesday, Channel 4 had a documentary about Eddie at age 39, who was a self-confessed paedophile who said that he never actually did anything on his desires, but he wants people to be more, he wants individuals who are like him to get more help for people who are sexually attracted to children. So, do you think this exists, good paedophiles?
You know what, I think that this programme actually was a fantastic breakthrough, because through demonising paedophiles, you make them afraid to come forward and therefore more likely to commit crimes against children. Sorry. Could you hear me? Hello.
I think the real problem with paedophilia tends to be the repression. That's when it comes out in harmful ways to other people. When people they try and kind of keep it down, act like there's nothing going on, and then it's kind of like serial killers. They say that it starts off with fantasizing, and then it's not enough one day, and then it kind of becomes real actions.
Yeah.
You know, you have to respect this man for his act of bravery, which was coming
Yeah,
forward.
it's actually really
Absolutely,
brave
I
because we
completely
have
agree.
loads of stereotype about pedophilia, and saying that is actually a psychiatric disorder, recognize that and step forward and say, hey,
You know,
I
to
have
try
a
to help
problem.
people.
No, but nobody chooses to be a paedophile. I mean, you choose whether you would want to act on your instincts, and you know, this man is doing a good job of
Rehabilitation is the important
resisting,
thing as well,
you know?
because this demonisation is when people say, "Oh, paedophile was locked up, good," and things like that. And there's a lot of stuff floating around on Facebook about. I don't know if you've seen these groups where it's bring back hanging for paedophiles and things like that.
Yeah.
You think that is an absolutely disgusting thing to say, that paedophilia is a crime and you're entitled to rehabilitation.
And of course, if you do abuse a child, you should absolutely go to jail. But
Yeah.
if you haven't actually actively done anything wrong and you're having these thoughts and you do seek help, I think that needs to be
But-
recognised as a good step
To be
forward.
open about it is the best way.
Yeah.
The only question is, like they said, that is actually a problem that you have in your brain. You have a different element in your brain. Now I know,
Well, again,
nothing about science, but it's something that you can actually help them with, like.
Yeah, chemical castration, I think, is what is used. isn't
And
it?
also counselling as
Yeah.
well, because you think there's got to be a deep-seated reason for that.
Well, often people that have been abused themselves as children
Yeah,
are
yeah.
much more likely to
And you
abuse.
think to slip
So,
you
yeah,
need
it's
counselling, things
sort
like
of
that, to
deep
come to terms with.
psychological issues.
I think the issue is that we don't understand them enough. There's a real them and us at the moment,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying we should, all hold hands and it's happily ever after, but I do think that we need to be helping them because it is it's a psychiatric disorder at the end of the day, and I think some of them must feel terrified about this instinct that they have. It must be like an inner conflict. So
Yeah, through segregating them and locking them away and demonising them, you're not addressing the actual issue.
The media love
You're
it.
not helping the society as
The
well.
media love a paedophile story as well, because it plays on people's fears and parents' fears.
Definitely.
And things
You
like
catch
that.
immediately attention.
Yeah.
It's like you have a young kids that
And I
is
think today-
raped.
Yeah. Why is November the month of child scandals? You got the MP having pedophiles. What is this issue of November being all about children and pedophiles?
It gets darker earlier. Not much to do, I guess.
It's like,
You know,
we'll pick November
It
because
gets dark
we'll
pretty
pick
early.
November.
It's so dark.
That month, before Christmas, make everyone feel happy and safe. And then, oh wait, it's pedophile month.
It's
No.
paedophile month.
Well, you
yeah.
can't have it in December
Oh, guys,
because
it's
December's a
not funny
happy
at all.
Christmas month, so they've got to pick the month before.
If we get a bank holiday, I'm okay
We're
with it.
entering dangerous territory now.
Oh my God.
Should we
Reel it
bring
in.
back? Yeah.
Let's bring it back. So yeah,
The headline was good paedophiles. It was never going to go well.
No, it's not. But I mean, I'm just curious because the whole issue of these kind of disorders about finding a cure. Is it more about cure first, or is it more about understanding? Because we don't want to say like certain disorders that you are wrong to be born with. Here's like the solution to cure all your problems. But it's more of like how it's a bit like, I don't know how to say it. It's like issues with homosexuality and other issues like that. Is that here's a cure, take it and you'll feel better.
Yeah, okay, wait a second. Like, I
But
think
it's
that homosexuality and
It's
pedophilia
a
is
bit different.
different.
It's a bit different, obviously. But I mean, it's like same situation. Like they don't choose to be one of those categories. It's just that saying that that's chemical castrate you. That's put you into is that issue of
Yeah,
it
gotcha.
being
There
that,
would have been
that
a-
bad stigma of it. It's not that helpful to
So you're saying in that you don't choose your sexuality, you also don't choose
pedophile. Because I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you don't. That's what they're saying, aren't they? That these people, from early adolescence, you feel that you are
Yeah, they
attracted
seek
to
their
younger children.
You keep feeling attraction for
Yeah.
young sandals for you
And
the
the
entire
more
life.
the more unspoken it is, probably the worse it gets as well, because it becomes a real taboo sort of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that can really probably play into that. And I think what you were saying about homosexuality does kind of make sense, because there would have been a time when they would have been grouped together as kind of, I don't know what you want to call them, sexual disorders or something like that,
Yeah.
when homophobia was,
People
homosexuality was illegal.
offering a cure for
people
being
often,
gay.
Yeah.
offering,
You
like,
know,
a straight
it's-
camp and that kind of stuff. Like, let's make you straight again. It's like the issue. We'll make you normal, and I think that's like one of the problems I have, is that making people normal. Because what is normal? How do you define normality? And I think
Well, it is a social construct, isn't it? The decision
Yeah.
in this country is that people under a certain age aren't mature enough sexually or to have relationships with older people and that sort of thing, which is perfectly fine. I completely agree with it. But in other countries, it's not, the social construct isn't there. So people do marry underage people and things like that. And a lot of paedophiles in this country actually either go abroad or use the internet on foreign websites, don't they, to kind of satisfy their desires
Gosh.
and things like that. Because there was what was the Jim? You probably know what I'm talking about. The computer program that they were using, Sweetie. Do you remember this? It was kind of child protection group. We're using a computer program called Sweetie, and they would basically go on online chat rooms, pretend to be a 12-year-old girl in the Philippines, somewhere like that, and kind of lure in paedophiles, and then
Oh yes, I do remember.
and they caught quite a lot of middle-aged English men.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was quite recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the issue when they go, they try to be a little bit illegal when they lie on the internet, and try to entice younger individuals. That's the issue. But those who don't act on it, I think, should not be prosecuted in any way. They should be treated as normal citizens.
Yeah, and there's the issue as well with so many scandals being revealed recently. It's particularly, obviously, somebody like Jimmy Savile. There's a real malice attached to it, whether it's media portrayal or what these people are saying has happened to them. And you have to think about how many paedophiles who actually are really distressed by how they feel, and we don't know about those at all. That's completely unheard.
The demonisation as well, I think, completely takes over the human element of it as well. It seems a lot of the time that, like, Jimmy Savile was this terrible human being, and it often isn't thought about so much how much of an effect it has on young people and things like that. I think that people might mention it in passing and say, oh, it's a shame, these girls, blah, blah, blah. But then you think that should be the main story, is that children aren't being protected enough, rather than this person's a terrible person because they're a paedophile. You need to talk about the fact that there are people being affected by it.
I think we need
more.
to, highlight the fact that if you do act on these thoughts and you do abuse a child, then that is an absolutely horrific and unforgivable crime. But yeah, no, I think if you are actively seeking help and you actively don't want to, then yeah, I think the two types of paedophile need to be separated.
Is it a crime to have the thoughts? I suppose that's the point. And it's definitely a crime to act on it, but is it a crime to feel like that?
I think we shouldn't say that it's a crime to have the thought if you didn't act, and they deserve help. But then, from the point they actually act,
you need
no excuses.
You need anonymous anonymous ways, safe ways of people getting counselling. Because then, if you think about it, then that can protect the people anyway. Because say someone goes to whatever they go to a counsellor or something like that. It can all be completely anonymous, but then you know who this person is. Not so much to keep an eye, well, I suppose essentially, to keep an eye on them. You know that this person is either going to counselling and is trying to get help, or you know better that they might actually be acting on their
I think
impulses.
it's really important that we start to talk to paedophiles and gain a greater understanding of them in order to prevent crime in the future. I think anyway
that if it does come out your name, you're gonna be labeled for your entire life anyway in this society.
Yeah,
so it's really important to kind of keep it secret once they ask you help, because I really think that it's a huge label to stick on you.
Okay, yeah, and so if you're listening in, there's a British charity called Stop It Now, which encourage paedophiles to come out and seek help, and has a helpline and counselling service that aims to prevent paedophiles to act on their sexual instinct. So there's an equivalent in Germany called Prevention Project Dunkenfield, which basically means dark field, and it uses methods of counselling that can include group therapy, and will help individuals complement with drug courses to treat paedophiles who want help with their feelings or desires toward children, but who are not known to have broken the law. So that's a good sort of step in the right direction. Moving on to our next story. Recently, there's been a sort of revelation of police individuals failing to investigate crimes properly. And so Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary, HMIC, has found crime investigations was substandard in 18 of the 43 police forces. And I think that's sort of in tie with recent, news about how area of West London is quite high in crime rates according to the rest of London. So yeah.
But do you know what's really funny? Because I actually found a piece of article from The Guardian from the 24th of April that was saying that crime rate in England and Wales falls of the 15%, and it's the lowest level in 33 years, and that was just in April. So I know that it's probably not, like, it's connected, but it's not the same thing, saying that the police is failing to investigate and the crime
is coming
down. Is coming down, but at the same time, like...
Yeah, but there is an issue there that, because I read a story which kind of counteracts that, where a lady was saying, I went in 3 times to report a crime because her bag was stolen and it had valuable belongings in, and they completely...
Ignore you?
Discarded her 3 times and made it very clear that they weren't going to report anything, and she said, you know, that's great, crime rates are falling, but that's because you haven't even reported my crime. So there is that, I mean, how do we know? We don't know what's happening.
What you were saying about West London, Jim, is right. I was burgled, 3 weeks into being here or something like that. So... works out pretty well.
I don't know why I'm laughing, it's not great.
No, it's not funny. Thanks, Anita. I'm quite sad now.
I just laugh at your misfortunes.
That's right. It's a university camera anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, the police were absolutely useless, basically. They sent 2 guys around within an hour, and they asked me a few questions. They asked if my room was always this much of a mess. I had to say yes, it is always this much of a mess.
So you're not justified, I'm sorry.
And then I got an email about 3 days later to say, we're not going to bother looking for your camera. We can't really be bothered right now. So, the police are useless.
And did they give you an explanation for that?
I just can't be bothered. They're busy guys.
It's not an explanation.
They're too busy making tea.
I'm sorry.
They're sat out there with their speed cameras.
See, I met with the police on campus, and he's saying... obviously, that's one issue of that, you know, which is, I think, a separate issue. But, I mean, issues of burglaries on campus is that sometimes individuals don't mark their property as theirs. So that when they find it on an individual or they find it in a person's house, you know, they can't always link it up to the individual. Because if your name's not on there, even though suppose like you lost a camera, but we find a camera, we can't say it's yours because then we can't link it to you, you know.
How you're supposed to mark it?
Are you suggesting this was my fault that I was burgled?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying not to you, but I mean to individuals.
I didn't lock my door.
So they've got like something a pen or whatever that so it's only it'll shown through police light or whatever. So the issue of because they do find individuals sometimes, but they can link it to a different crime, but not to your actual crime that you reported. But that's obviously a different story.
That's if they look, I guess, and if they look, yeah.
I don't think police doings are transparent enough. I don't know whether that's just my opinion, but I feel as if, I mean, for the first time I was reading properly about how they have certain targets to meet. And
especially
so,
traffic police,
exactly. And in a target-driven environment, all sorts of things start slipping under the radar because, you know, you're under pressure as an individual. So, it's tricky.
Well, the traffic police have targets the opposite way around. They have a certain amount of crimes to find in a day, and it does seem a lot of the time that police spend far more time on traffic incidents than they do on any real crimes.
Yeah.
I work
parking tickets.
Parking tickets,
speeding tickets,
having a slightly flat tire. Well, I work in a supermarket, and we had a shoplifter.
Do you, Alex?
Would you like to know? I won't tell you which supermarket I work in.
Do not tell it. No, do not say it.
They pay me. They said, I know you on the radio, we'll give you 50 grand if you just mention our name once.
Really now?
Yeah, they did.
Will you show that to us?
I work for Waitrose.
Yep.
I don't go to Waitrose. Waitrose is terrible. And so a police officer came to the store, and we watched the CCTV of one of the managers chasing the shoplifter, and the police officer actually said, I've never moved that fast in my life. And I thought, you are a police officer. It is your job to move that fast. To be fair, based on the size of him, he didn't look like he'd ever moved that fast in his life.
It's the donuts.
But I think don't they only have to run 100 metres in like 25 seconds or something like that?
Yeah. Which I think the standard is not that
any criminal is going to act.
But bringing it back, so yeah, Anita, you're correct, because this comes a week after the same organisation, HMIC, found that almost 1 million officers a year actually disappear from official figures as chief constables attempt to meet their target of lower crime rate. So it's obviously that it's a bit, lying and a bit misleading the public.
Yeah, I mean, that's was my point about the transparency. I don't feel as if we know enough. I mean, it's different for us. We're journalism students, so we are interested. But I do feel that as a general member of public, I certainly didn't know exactly what's going on. And even hearing things such as, we have so much paperwork, we can't deal with this issue right now.
You can actually use the computer instead of paper. Like if every time you just type in the system, it's going to filter for you.
But you know what I mean, as in all that admin.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's
probably job applications for other jobs, and they're filling in anyway with the paperwork. Should be at least.
So yeah, they do find individuals in the police, and they're not able to cope with issues like cybercrime, and they're not that well trained in sort of the newer, and they're still using yesterday's sort of methods of finding out perpetrators of crime rather than today's methods of finding out crime. It's just the training of individuals of police is just, it's not up to par.
So we need to change the training. We need to train them to use a computer.
Need to stop with the speed cameras because they're driving me mental.
No, I do. Yeah, I mean, I also don't think it's fair on them as well, in the sense that they don't. That's their standard training procedure, but there's still so much being discovered about cybercrime that how can they possibly then train policemen when, you know, intelligence services are working on it and still don't quite understand it every time. So
I think there are a lot of points about this that we don't really understand, like that is not, they are just completely covered, and that's a little like slice of a giant cake, and we can't really understand what's going on under that.
And also the issue is always, you know, police cuts, officers not wanting to be, you know, declining numbers of police recruits. I think it's always an issue, you know. So one of the areas on the survey was Bedfordshire, which was ranked in the bottom groups in 3 categories. And HMIC Inspector Zoe Blingham said that the number of police officers has been cut to such a low level, and effective service had been put at risk. So it's honestly an issue. I mean, can you blame them if they got like two officers running an entire town, running an entire area? It's like it's hard for them to keep up with everything.
It becomes a job as well. You might start off being young and thinking I want to solve crimes and I want to help people and that sort of thing, but I mean, you do it for so many years, it will just become a job where you can't wait for the end of your shift, you know, and you're just there for the paycheck, which is a shame. But then I guess all jobs can go that way, can't they? Who keeps that kind
Probably
of
sometimes the resources that they have even make their job impossible. Like, because if you don't have enough resources, you don't have even enough men to cover your area. Like, how can you actually do it?
And especially in somewhere like West London, where there is a lot of crime and a lot of kind of smaller crimes as well. You know, things like shoplifting and burglary and things like that. You think, how can they cover all of them if they're happening that often?
And on the other side of that, it also says with the Bedfordshire ranking that some of them couldn't. The crimes that they were looking into, they failed to properly gather evidence from CCTV footage or fingerprints, or support victims. I mean, those you would think are basic training.
Yeah.
They are, but probably sometimes it's even a matter of time. Like, if you're to cover a huge area and you can't even get get help when they call you, like, how can you actually gather evidence and then do everything else that it's needed? Like, you really probably have this problem as well.
No, it's certainly not easy because, I mean, investigations of any kind, as I'm sure we all know, are time-consuming, and so investigating crime, it's not going to be easy on them at all.
I spend a lot of my time chasing criminals.
Yes.
He's Spider-Man.
Namely, I wish I was.
That wouldn't happen in Waitrose.
I love Gwen Stacy.
So yeah, time is now about 1 minute past 5, so now we'll cut to our next song. This is a sort of a live version of the song. This is To Kill a King with Bastille, We Were Evergreen, and a bunch of other bands as well. This is Choices.
I don't like this song.
You haven't even heard it yet.
Shut up.
I love Bastille.
Yeah, it's Bastille, another band. Just playing.
I never took away your crutch, just became it day by day. Blood filling up our boots, what's the use in talking? All you wanna do is walk. It's all you wanna do. And this is how the song.
Right, that's a clap for us. Coming back to the Fourth Estate on Radio Brunel, the time is about 5:08. We're talking about other news in the week that caught our eye today. So an issue, it's quite sort of a light story, is the news about vinyl records being sold more than 1 million so far this year, which is the first time this has been achieved since 1996. So, I mean, just wondering, guys, is this a return of the vinyl records, do you think?
You know what, I think with the digital age and iTunes and one-click buying of songs, it's really lovely to actually go and purchase this grand thing and, and admire the album artwork and, be really proud to own it and display it. It's like the Kindle versus book debate. There's something really lovely.
There is no debate.
No, I hate Kindle.
There is something really lovely about having a shelf full of books, and when you have guests around, they can come and they can look at them all. And I think that the record versus MP3 debate is sort of similar. And MP3s might be practical, but it's not always about practicality. So yeah, sorry.
What I think as well is that the report from The Independent said the same, that vinyl is still a niche business, even if it's accounting 42% of the UK recorded music market. So, probably they are increasing, but it's still a niche. So it's quite nice, but I think it's kind of the future of the book or the future of the newspaper. Is like, they will stay alive, but in a small group.
Careful what you say now.
No.
We're book lovers. You can't say that to us.
I'm a book lover. I keep reading in paper, and I can't really convert to the
blank paper or paper with words on.
Blank paper. Blank paper. No, just images, because I can't read in English.
The Hungry Caterpillar.
I'm a big fan of pop-up books. I think that genre really needs to come back.
But just a question: do any of you buy vinyl records?
No.
I would buy second-hand vinyls. I often do for my dad.
I think it's a bunch of hipsters.
Why not first-hand vinyl records?
Well, honestly, you know me, Jim. I'm not much of a music fanatic. But if I were, then I think I'd love. Yeah, I think I certainly would think about buying them. Mm-hmm. I just think they're lovely possessions, and I really love displaying album artwork on, as artwork, essentially.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of my friends buy it for that reason, because they have it on their wall, which is, it's still buying it and appreciating it.
I have a lot of friends that are really into this market of the vinyl, and they love even listen to that, but I think they are still a niche business.
Bunch of hipsters trying to be cool.
I think they're a bunch of hipsters trying to be cool.
That's so not true, because you have people who are also from that era who like it. So, for example, my dad, it was the first thing he ever bought, a Madness vinyl, and I'm not hearing a word against vinyls. It's very nostalgic about it.
It is nostalgic.
Your dad shops in Urban Outfitters.
My dad is a hipster. He's got long hair. He's been compared to like an Italian millionaire, so people think that he is.
Why an Italian millionaire?
Well, because when we're in Italy, anyway, we're diverting.
Shut the fuck up. Berlusconi doesn't have.
Whoa! That's a bad word.
Sorry, I apologize for that. I'm sorry.
So reverting back to what we were
don't
saying.
talk about him, okay? Just my nerves just break down.
Are you a big Berlusconi fan then?
Yeah, I am.
I think everyone in Italy is.
But yeah, I mean.
Anyway.
So people who are young, like I buy vinyl records, so yeah, it's a bit different from
hipster.
Yeah, total hipster.
I think both records and MP3s have their virtues, but why choose one thing?
Exactly.
Why not have both?
I think it definitely coincides with the kind of return of electronic music as well. I think the DJs are making a massive comeback. Raves and things like that are absolutely massive in this country.
Are they massive?
Massive. There was
Did they ever leave?
Massive.
They've been there for like about 5-10 years, haven't they?
No, I think there was a period when it kind of went quiet, especially in the mainstream.
Yeah, it was actually in the Sunday Times about a month ago, where they were saying actually those raves, like you were saying, that used to be so popular and then phased out, have now had a real surge again, where people just want to feel that vibe that they used to feel before everything changed.
There was a real...
Is that just called drugs?
Yeah, that's just excellent. But
drugs have always been in, haven't they?
There was a pop music for a long time was... Well, as rubbish as always, but it was all boy bands, girl bands, that sort of thing, wasn't it? And then now it's
not rubbish.
Are you big
I
boy
resent
band?
For me, I want R&B pop to come back. R&B pop, I want
that. It's my childhood. What are you talking about?
What's your childhood?
But yeah,
boy
bands. So One Direction has the new album. It's also on vinyl as well.
I'm a big One
Direction. So that's more, I think, more using the issue of vinyl record as a marketing strategy, selling more copies, because they obviously do cost a bit more.
Yeah, whatever works.
It spans all the genres as well, because I know that the pop punk genre, I don't know why, but they've released loads of vinyls in the pop punk genre. The electronic music scene makes sense to me because you've got DJs and a lot of them want to go back to the old school, don't want to use CDs on the decks and that sort of thing. They want to use vinyl again. But when it comes to sort of heavier music, it's kind of happening there as well. It makes you wonder why, because that's not the sort of thing that you would traditionally but then again, if you think about it, I mean, original sort of metal would have been on vinyl, wouldn't it? I mean, if you're looking at like stuff. If you're looking at like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath,
But doesn't
and that
have
sort
the
of thing,
CD
so-
market a huge loss in this period? Like,
Yeah, the CD is
CD,
to quote
music, and general just
Tempted to.
everything.
It is. I
copies.
do think though that sometimes, like you were saying, Sarah, it is lovely to actually own something, because with things like iTunes and Spotify that people use so much, it's not actually
and illegal.
yours,
And
even though you have
illegal.
access to it all the time.
Especially when you don't pay for it.
Well, precisely. We won't talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
that.
you know what? Whether it's just a marketing strategy, which it daily is in the case of One Direction, you know, why not?
You say a bad word against
Why
One Direction,
not?
I'm coming over there.
Oh, I would never dream of it.
I wouldn't. I'd get attacked by a lot of younger children and older women, so I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Good looking dudes.
I do think maybe the more technology there is, people start feeling more nostalgic about things like that as well.
And if
So-
you're not going to buy a CD to listen to the music, you can buy a vinyl as a collector's item.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that.
You know, the more I see, you know, everyone pushing me to buy a Kindle because I'm reading all the time,
Can't
the
stand
more
it.
I want to
Not
carry
to do
10
it.
books in my bag just out of protest. So
Yeah.
you do become and you do appreciate the actual item, you know, holding it in your hand. And
You know what? It's
There's-
great that people are still buying music because it's so easy to illegally download. You know?
yeah, no, it's,
I wouldn't know anything
Fantastic,
about
you
that.
know.
no, I
I'm
wouldn't
curious
Oh,
either.
that's good. We're all
Whether One Direction
Very well
vinyl
behaved.
will actually be an actual artifact or an actual antique in the future.
Of course it will.
You think so?
Best band in
And
the
One
history of
Direction
the
on
world.
the wall.
Which celebrity said that recently, that they'll never be recreated? I can't remember.
One
who said
Direction
it.
won't
They'll
be.
never be
Simon
recreated.
Cowell,
Bigger-
I don't know. Simon Cowell.
They're
must
bigger
be-
than the
Oh
Beatles,
God, I
aren't
wouldn't quote what
One
Simon
Direction
Cowell
are bigger than the Beatles.
They're bigger than the Beatles were, I think. I imagine they're bigger than the Beatles
I
are
think they're
now.
bigger
Well, I suppose
currently,
them will-
but I think the impact will not be as big as the Beatles. I think.
Oh, I think it will be. I think they're better than the Beatles.
Although the
Although
short-term
here they say that
social
the
media.
Pink Floyd is the fastest selling vinyl released since 1997.
There you go. Now we know.
So yeah,
Now
we
know. I've never been a big Pink Floyd fan.
What?
So I'm a big One Direction fan.
A complete point, which I have to tell anyone who's listening. If you listen to the Pink Floyd album with The Wizard of Oz at the same time, they completely coincides. As in, everything that happens in the film goes with the music, and it's really, really weird.
How did you discover that?
Because when
It
I was
was
in
listening to
America,
the vinyl of
somebody
its time.
told me who was slightly out of his mind, and I was not. So I immediately had a look at this, and it is freakishly true.
I don't really understand.
Um,
I'm going to have to go home and do more
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Moving on to a little bit of a story that's linked as well is that in West London, local, right outside of our back door, the libraries are closing down. No. And two of the and some libraries will be reduced hours, closed for 2 days a week. So that's interesting. So the libraries that are linked is Bob Lawrence Library in Edgware, North Harrow Library in North Harrow, Hatch End Library in Hatch End, Winners Lane in South Harrow. And so it's an issue because apparently it's to do with a cost-cutting proposal, and you know, people have been saying, why not let the community take over? And they've been saying, well, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, but I mean, you save a library. I don't want to.
Everyone's got a Kindle now, Jim.
Yeah, that's what we need, public Kindles.
Yeah.
Just put a Kindle on the floor in the middle of the street, let whoever they want take it and have a read. Or sell it on eBay.
But
if
does
they
the
want to.
community really care about it? Because that's a
I think that's the
question.
thing, is that it would be nice to save libraries, but does anyone go to the library anymore? When
No,
was the last time you
the
went to
problem
library?
is that if anyone's go there, like, who is gonna care about saving the library? Actually,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I tell you what I have an issue with. I would go to the library all the time. What I discovered in my hometown, which I won't mention because I'm about to slate the library, was that when I go inside, there are no books. There are hardly any books. There's one floor of books. The rest is DVDs, videos, computers for people who don't have access to
You sure it's a
computers at
library?
home. It is absolutely a library because it's name of town.
it's
library.
not the consequence
Uh,
not
uh,
of
Sure,
not
it wasn't
having
a public
money.
toilet.
It's not a consequence of not having money. That
Or just no one using
But I
it.
think actually
I
that's
just-
not
I just think
necessarily
that
a
whole-
bad thing, because for a library to keep going, it has to stay updated with the times, and the
It
the
does,
fact
but-
is that people don't read books.
But are you
also?
also taking away what? I mean, you have internet cafes, and I do completely agree with what you're saying. But I do think you're
But
not
it's a public space where people can go
Yeah.
and learn,
Yeah.
and the consumption of information is different now, and we use computers more frequently. But the fact that I think we need this space in order to go and research and read and learn new things I think we still do need libraries. I just think they need to be treated slightly differently.
Maybe they need to be modernised.
They
yeah.
do.
Maybe
They need to be
turn them into
I
more of a
think that
business.
actually the thing of filling the library with DVDs and other modern element was trying to modernize the library, but probably it's the same thing that Amita said.
I think,
like it
I
didn't
stopped going
succeed,
for that
actually.
reason. Because I can do that. I mean, obviously, if I didn't have a computer at home, it'd be different, but I can do all of that at home. And I also think that the biggest library in the country, I think, opened only 2 years ago in Birmingham. And what they actually did was they said our main priority after asking people is we want the library to be filled with books. So it's the most futuristic looking library. I went and visited it, but it is predominantly about the books. And I think maybe, I don't know, my consensus is that you do need the space and you do need the computers, but you do also need to remember what it's there for.
In the town that I live in, the library is always completely empty. The choice of books isn't great and things like that. It's really small. It's not very good. And it probably is because people... The only person that I know that actually uses libraries is my dad. And I have no... Dad, you need to stop using libraries because it's on its way out. But then, when I lived in Cardiff, they have a huge, lovely glass building for a library. There's like 6-7 floors. There's everything you could possibly want. Loads of space to go and work. And I used to go there rather than go to the university library because it was nicer. So you can make these places a sort of place where people want to be, not just to borrow books and things like that.
Definitely.
Yeah,
That's
true.
not necessarily what it's...
But
I was using the library as well when I was
there
studying in Florence. It was the National Library. It was huge and was an amazing place, like a temple. And everyone was used to go there. Quite complicated, like the system to borrow books, because it was the National Library, so they had old books. But was an amazing space.
I think maybe
Constantly updated.
local kind of community libraries are on their way out, but
Yeah,
then maybe
I
you
think
should
the
replace
fact
them
that they're
with bigger
closing
ones.
down means that something's not. So they're doing something wrong, basically.
'Cause if it's
and,
sat there, it's
they need to evolve or die. You know,
You can't
have
deny
to
that it's a
modernise
waste
or
of
you
money.
won't
If there's
survive.
no one using it, it's completely
Yeah,
empty.
no,
It is a waste of
absolutely.
money.
But it's sad that libraries are closing. But if they're not prepared to kind of adapt to suit modern needs, then they'll cease to exist.
On Get West London, they said like the only
Don't mention
one...
them.
Oh, sorry. It's actually... have to say where I'm going to
just
read
say it from
the
the
data. I'm not
from
going to
the-
invent that.
The other news site.
Only 1 in 5 citizens are library card holder, and both the total number of visits and the number of books and DVD issued are in a year-on-year decline. So that probably a huge loss for them. I do not agree about closing down the library because I think it's an amazing resource and you shouldn't do that. But I can understand that from an economic point of view is
It's not going to
a
work.
loss. No.
Why don't they put cafes in or something like that? Make it more of a place to hang out and...
Yeah.
After the DVD, try with the coffee?
I
Yeah.
definitely think there are ways to keep libraries going, but you have to be a little bit resourceful and you have to be a little bit open-minded.
Yeah, you have to, because a lot of the libraries, I can imagine these places as well, have never changed.
Yeah.
You know, like if there's
I
one
think
thing
that's
you
the
can think
issue,
of.
isn't it?
I think a library should try to kind of catch the attention, like planned events, and just try to have an audience and get along with them because it's important.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But they need to borrow
Showing
books.
them that you're actually alive, you're an alive institution, you're not just at that place
Like a
with
relic
a lot
of the past.
paper.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, usually in West Drayton, the libraries there have recently, to mark the war, they had people gather and do, war poetry and do all sorts of activities. And they said they've never seen so many people at the library, all at once. And I was thinking, well, it's obviously worked, and people are aware that it's there. But you do need to actively draw people in nowadays. I mean, there's so many other options for people that you need to find a way.
Yeah, because books, I can imagine in the past when books wouldn't have been so easy to get hold of, would have been quite expensive and that sort of thing, that a library is a perfect place to go and read it, decide if you want to take it out or whatever. But now books are so cheap that everything in...
You kind of change the function of the library. It could be a place where you can gather people and find some people that had your same interest or something,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
You have to just focus in another way, not just borrow the books for the sake of borrowing something, because you actually can go to buy something or just download it.
There's a shop in Exeter that it's a charity and it's a bookshop, and you pay whatever you want for the books that are there, and all the books are donated, but they have a really good choice. And you think, why would you bother going to a library to borrow a book when you could, for whatever you decide to pay, so you could decide to pay 50p for a hardback then why would you bother going to a library when you can buy the book? I've always had a problem with libraries because I have to have a book in my possession. I can't borrow a book and then give it back to someone because
I like to annotate and fold pages and make it mine, and you can't. Do
I think
that,
I associate libraries, those local libraries anyway, with my childhood, because it's the sort of thing where my parents used to take me and say like you can borrow a book and you can pick it and whatever, and then I would go home and read it. But I don't know about now. I think you're right. I think I'm more inclined to browse charity shops and actually buy the book.
Maybe they should be included with the school libraries then. Maybe you should make school libraries better, but then open them to the community.
Do you guys used to have the mobile library?
No. Oh no, we didn't.
Oh, it was the most exciting day. I think once every 3 weeks maybe we'd have this kind of little van full of books come.
And that's a really good model, I think. That's a great model to use.
I didn't realise that. Yeah, sometimes,
And it was kind of like, I'd say about ambulance sized, and it was just decked out with loads of bookshelves, loads of great books, It's very exciting. Maybe they should think about...
Yeah, and they are teacher inside sometimes. They make children play. So, like, that's a way of involve, actually, family and people, and to get close to the institution of the library. You should actually evolve.
It's not surprising that they're closing, though, I guess, is it really?
But just a question, have you actually been to the Oxford Library yet, any of you?
Nope.
I've been to the libraries in my patch, but as I said, I actually went because of the events. I haven't actually been...
guys, I'm justified. We have Brunel libraries open 24 hours on 24, so...
But Oxford has more has more fiction books, I think. And they've got Game of Thrones. We don't have that here.
I'm sorry.
We don't have Game of Thrones here.
I don't think so.
No one of us is gonna go to the library anymore right now. After this, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm going to go to the
library. Sorry,
Jim.
I'm going to libraries, Jim. Don't listen to them.
You're supposed to be impartial.
I'll try to be impartial. We're going to get to our next song. This is Angus and Julia Stone, who's going to be live in December 16th at Apollo, Eventum Apollo, and this is their song Grizzly Bear. You're listening to Forfeit State on the Radio Brunel University Student Run Station, and like I said previously, we're joined by four wonderful guests: Amita, Alex, Federica, and Sarah. We've talked about vinyl records as well as closure of local libraries in West London. Now, moving on to a bit of a global story about UK and refugees in Syria. So, according to David Cameron, they're only going to be allowing, I think, about 100 refugees from Syria over to the UK for refugee status. I mean, what do you guys make of this?
Syria has over half the population are refugees at the moment, and really this is causing a huge strain on all of the surrounding countries, and I think Britain is in the position to help and therefore should help these vulnerable people in their time of need. I don't really think enough is being done. We might not be able to stop the war, but I think that we could be doing more to rehouse these people.
I mean, there's so many conflicting debates around this and that. I mean, the Sunday Times appeal is actually helping Syria, and they're running a fantastic appeal at the moment leading up to Christmas. But I do, at the same time, think there's been a lot of objection to this, saying that we should be actually helping deal with issues in our own country. So that there's always going to be
You're actually dealing with immigration issue right now, and they are not pretty happy. I don't really think they want to just welcome someone else more. But the UK is the second biggest financial contributor to aid funds for the country. So I think UK is contributing, just as not definitely open to welcome new.
There's always going to be a slice, hopefully a small slice, of the population that is just obnoxious about this sort of thing and just won't want to help anyone, and will be thinking about how much of a strain it is on the NHS and things like that. And
but these are people's lives.
You're going to call in for a minute. We've got a phone caller today.
God, no.
I'm going to just air him a little bit. This is Ali.
Hello, panel. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Hi, Ali.
I've got a question about the Smith Commission. Do you know what the Smith Commission is?
I heard it mentioned. Couldn't tell you specifically what it is.
No.
Is anyone about the devolution of powers to the Scottish Parliament?
Right. Yes.
Bloody hell.
We've got any expertise here who could answer some questions about it?
No.
We'll all chip in when we can.
Do you?
Yeah.
Should this not be your area of expertise?
No, I'm asking a
question.
Right, okay.
So yeah, great question from Ali. Yeah, just guys, carry on. I mean, just.
Really? That was it?
So Sarah,
I was at
sorry,
least
what were you
prepared to give it a
saying?
crack. I don't know. No, I'm completely lost.
You were saying it's that these are people's lives that we're
Yeah, I mean they're the survivors of torture and violence, and they need urgent medical care. Many of them, they're displaced, and I think if we possibly could help, then perhaps we should.
Definitely.
I mean,
Yeah, but really, like, how can you think? Like,
And it's not we're not saying they're going to come and live in our country forever and ever, but I think temporary.
We're in a very privileged
resettlement.
position. We should be able to help people when they're in trouble.
and they did do a vox pop actually, asking people. The BBC did asking people whether we should be doing this, and so many people said, "No, we've got too many homeless children on our own floor to be." So it is really difficult. But I do think, I mean, when you think about the people that we have helped in the past, so we've got people fleeing from Vietnam.
Malala.
Yeah, we've got the Ugandan Asians, so that actually includes my own family. So then I sort of start to think, actually, the lives that are being turned around, and then we're saying that we're settling for 100. I mean, it's tough, but at the same time, he is facing this issue of if he would have said more, there would have been an outrage against that as well. So what can we do?
I think it's really interesting to check the data of the BBC that said that the immigration increase and from the previous year, but the number of people that are actually living in the UK remains stable. So what do you make out of this? Because it's a signal of the fact that probably, like, if the number remains stable, it means that someone is actually emigrating from the UK.
I suppose why is there not an increased number of people emigrating? I suppose is the question. If there's free kind of free movement through the EU, why are people not going to get some nice weather somewhere? Why are they staying here?
Yeah, like I don't understand why people come here. Actually, I don't know if the number of
Get
people.
in the back of the van.
I'll be soon. Don't worry. Just get to the election. Wait a second. I don't really know, like, if they're actually Britons that are actually going away, or is immigrants that are coming in and then going away after. I don't know, because there is no data in here to support any of my saying. But it's interesting, this thing that actually the number of the people living in the UK remains stable, even if you have actually a lot of immigration.
I mean, it is interesting that, slightly deviating from your point, that lots of charities have written in to David Cameron saying that he should get more refugees to come to the country, and I think that it's what they're asking is that there should be a collective responsibility between the rich and developed countries. But I wonder whether is there a collective responsibility, because we're renowned here through various things that we do. BBC Children Need, all sorts that we do, where we are raising millions and millions. I mean, how much does it happen in other countries? Is there a collective responsibility?
Should we not be proud of it as well? People always seem to think that it's a bad thing that we send money abroad and things like that. Is it not something to be proud of? First of all, we're in a position where we can help other people that are far.
Yeah, that's probably
why
the letter, because you are in the position to help.
But then some people seem to think that it's a bad thing, that we should just look after ourselves, and you think that's a horrible way to think, isn't it?
It is. It's not. And some people say, "Oh no, that's just a practical." That's a practical look at it, but I think it's not idealistic to say we can give money and we're in a position to do so. So why can't we?
Completely in a position.
No,
to do so.
I think it's a great way to help, actually, because they need money. They physically need money, but they are expecting the UK doing more because it's actually a rich country, or such as consider. But I don't think as well that the Prime Minister dealing with immigration problem right now on another point in the EU is going to be open to hear, actually, and to answer this letter in a positive way. It's impossible. It's
difficult because people have such a detachment to it as well. I mean, it's something that they see on television, they read about in the newspaper, then they leave that newspaper aside and they go to work and they carry on with their day. And when, how much time do we actually have to think about these people who are survivors of torture and violence?
Because they use kind of standard advertising techniques as well, a lot of these things, I mean, it's like, it's really bad, but an Oxfam advert comes on television and you think, oh, not one of these again, sort of thing, I mean, it's like, I do feel terrible about it and it is horrible, but that advert isn't going to make me give money.
No.
And it's really bad that think like that.
We've
But
sort of become immune, haven't we?
yeah,
to these images.
exactly, yeah. And because it's television, like you said, it distances us from it. It's just like a movie, and you know what I mean? You see it and you think, that's not a real story to me. That is just people on a TV screen.
I think it's only... Yeah, it is difficult because how can people be open to having more refugees here if you can't identify with them? And that's really tough, you know.
All right, and then our last story, but not really. I mean, we still got so much time. I'm talking about Europe Parliament and Google. Seems to be a lot of stories about Europe this week. Anyway, so the EU, the Europe Parliament, has voted to break up tech giant Google. Well, they don't really have power to actually break up the Google. It's meant to sort of like send a message to Google that they don't really agree with their issues of practice and how they do their business. So in Strasbourg, they were 458 to 173 in favour of the proposal. And it sort of makes a very historic decision. And they are focusing on 4 areas: the way that Google displays its search services compared to its competitors, how it uses content from other websites, and how it's dominating over advertising on search terms, and restrictions that surround how advertisers can move the campaign to other search engines. So, I mean, it's not really a major thing, is it? I'm
surprised that they've picked up Google. I always thought that Google was one of the more ethical big companies. I never saw them as doing so much wrong, especially when you've got these huge corporations that are completely avoiding tax and things like that.
How can you actually know if a corporation is doing wrong or right if they have the total control of the market? They can say to you and give to you the data that they actually want. I mean, I'm sure it's not like that. I'm sure they are surveyed, but out of this survey, it came actually that they did something that wasn't correctly, because if not, they wouldn't have voted at the parliament. And it's really significant the fact that in the European community, the market that Google dominates is the 90%. Okay, the 90%, and we don't have the power to do anything. Whereas, in the US, the market is the 68%, and the company has already been broken up because there might be a signal of something. So every one of us use Google. We don't even think about it. We just talk about Googling stuff when we just go to on the net. Just Google. Whereas there are many others things that we could use if we wanted, but we're not going to use. No, but Google is perfect. Is efficient. It's actually extremely efficient. Mm-hmm. But it's a problem. We have to think about it in a different way. I think it's important.
That's the problem. Is it is such a tool and it's used so often that it is kind of hard, I suppose, to think about it in terms of they could be doing something wrong. And it's a search engine. It makes you think, how much can a search engine do wrong? I mean, it helps you out quite a lot. And you think
it's quite simple. You're a company. Yeah. You pay to be at the top searches, and as much as you pay, as more as you get in. If you can be at the top, people can click on you. So you are actually ready to pay a lot of money for that. Yeah. And if no one is going to check the market, if you don't have a competitor, you're actually able to accept how much that you want.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
I do think this story is really timely, considering everything that's happened with security and the issues surrounding search engines and security. I think there's just all of a sudden this skepticism where, Google has always just been Google. Wow, it's been...
You don't see it as a corporation,
and all of
a
sudden, there's a lot of limelight on Facebook and Twitter and Google, and it's quite strange.
Yeah, we say kind of Google something neutral, but it's not. We should just realize that it's not. It's actually a company, so what they want is actually having money out of what they are doing, and that, I think, is the main point. Not because they are wrong in everything. They probably are an extremely checked company, but they actually control the 90% of the market. It's too much.
It's a lot. And actually, this was discovered 4 years ago, that there's things that aren't pleasing the EU, because they've been the subject of a 4-year antitrust investigation in Europe, and that's still not been... there's still no conclusion to that. So, yeah.
What else are you going to do? You're not going to Yahoo something, are you? That sucks.
It actually does. That's a
what happened to Ask Jeeves?
I think Jeeves is dead. Oh. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that guy. He's not around anymore.
He was great.
Or Bing. Bing was a terrible idea. Whoever thought of Bing was an idiot.
The only time
Linus.
Bing is...
Bing.
Linus and the other program.
Bing. But yeah, the issue, one of the points I want to add to this, actually, some people in states, Congress and Governor Jerry Brown of California, where it's actually based on where Google is based, said that he strongly condemns this initiative to against Google, because they warn that the vote could actually imperil negotiations over a transatlantic trade pact, with the European Union has made a priority as part of efforts to reinvigorate growth and create new jobs. So that issue again, Google has some issues obviously, but it's also such a massive company. It can actually promote change, promote growth and job growth as well. Employment, the issue.
It says it imperils negotiations over the transatlantic trade agreement as well, which is some of the things that will come into place with that agreement are terrible as well. Some of the things like where a foreign company, an American company, would be able to sue the government for any profits lost if they decide to stop them from doing something. Say a mining company wants to come over to England for whatever reason and was trying to mine on particular land. If the government said, no, we're not going to let you do that because that's going to damage our environment, or whatever reasons they give, the company would then have the right to sue the government for any money that they have lost in not doing that, which is terrible. But apparently everyone seems to be in support of this. All of the major parties in this country are in support of it, and they're saying that it could imperil negotiations as if it's something that needs to go through and is the best thing ever. But I think it could be very iffy if it does go through.
I do think on a fundamental level, just because they are a company and an expanding company that offer a lot of jobs doesn't necessarily mean that we don't look into what's going on. It might be great for the economy, but if there's a kind of, ethical and moral issues cropping up, then they do need to be explored.
There's definitely more companies that need to be investigated as well. Fair enough, you have to investigate Google because it's huge. But then, if you look at all of the companies that have been avoiding tax and things like that.
And banks. Why does nobody ever investigate
Why does no one ever put any bankers in prison?
I don't even know. Alright, we're going to cut to a quick song and then we'll come back and talk about stories that actually we don't really have on paper because, we didn't actually do any lot of things that do with tabloid this week, actually. We didn't do much tabloid story, which is quite impressive for us, I think. Normally we do a little bit of tabloid stuff.
And hard news.
I miss the tabloid stuff.
So we'll come
how's Kim Kardashian doing today?
So we'll come back a bit more tabloid, just on a lighter note. So this is
Good.
Lord with Yellow Flicker Beat from Hunger Games music soundtrack.
Oh dear.
Smoother than the storm. And the scars that mark my body, they're silver and gold.
That was Lord with Yellow Flicker Beat from the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 soundtrack, which is out, I think, this weekend. So if you haven't seen it, why don't you just watch it a bit, And, so it's about time is now 5:48. We've got about 12 minutes left until the end of our show. We're just going to be saying goodbye to all you people, which is kind of a bit sad. Moving on to a bit more stories. I want to talk a little bit before we go into our last story, is that Netflix CEO made a comment saying that broadcast TV will be dead within 16 years.
I hope so.
That was
a light story,
ridiculous.
It's a light story. It's quite.
That's not a light story.
As a journalist, obviously, people have been saying paper's dead, radio's dead.
Radio is dead.
Radio is not dead.
Radio is so dead. Yeah.
Wrong. I would think local radio is not.
Radio is never going to die.
If there's not a protest outside of this studio when we leave, then radio is dead.
Radio is never.
I can hear them chanting outside.
You can hear them.
All right, but yeah,
they're saying radio's dead.
Netflix obviously is saying, we got TV, audiences on our shows, and that's what's going to happen to broadcasting. It's going to
Netflix
die.
would say that, though, wouldn't they? Because they're it's kind of like, please die.
Do you not think that there is
Please leave the market to me. Leave the market to me.
None of us have televisions in our rooms, yet we're constantly watching television.
Yeah, but
you get to pick and choose what you watch and when you watch, and I think.
But I watch iPlayer, so
if I had a home, I would buy that.
I say to him that Netflix will be dead in 10 years.
I know. I think that statement's entirely true. Actually,
I will be. Wait, no, not me personally, but people will be downloading things legally for free, and there will be no need for Netflix.
They will be all ads.
I think Netflix is expiring and feels it needs to defend itself, so makes these drastic comments.
There's no need to rush home from work at 6 o'clock to catch your favourite programme now because it's all online, and you don't have to conform to the schedule anymore. You can watch what you want when you want. It's about.
That's true. I think television is changing, but I don't think it's gonna die. I think it's just gonna change the system, as you said. Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna die.
No, it's not gonna die.
I mean, they said that about radio. No, they said that about print when
They said
radio
about
came
print for
in,
20 years,
and then
yeah.
they said about
Print and
radio
online.
dying when TV came in, and now they're saying broadcasting is dying, and none of that has happened yet. So, touch wood, they're all wrong.
Maybe he's got a plan. Maybe he actually intends to kill broadcast TV. Maybe he's going to actually take over the world.
It's gonna
Ban
rule
it.
the world with
1984
Netflix.
star. Yeah, Netflix will take over the world one day.
Between Tesco, Primark, and Netflix, the world will have been dominated.
And Amazon. Amazon will be sending us every...
Scary world. All right, and our last story for this week's show is coming from Alex, who found this on Sky News, I'm assuming.
Don't advertise other news outlets, Jim.
Sorry.
We are the only news
Let's see
outlet.
where the source is from.
No, I'm not selling. It's
Declare
from
yourself.
Okay, let's talk about the
news.
story.
Yeah, what's the story?
I'm dying to
I
know
am
what
a
it is.
big fan of this story, actually. Firstly, because it's about swearing, and secondly, because it's about hypocrisy, my two favourite things in the world, I think. It says here, the chief executive of the Russian Premier League has been caught on camera in a foul-mouthed rant before a news conference to unveil a Stop Swearing campaign T-shirt.
Oh, the irony.
It was a news conference about a campaign to promote polite behaviour at football matches, which
You're
is
allowed to
also
read your quote.
beautiful.
No,
Yeah,
no, you can't.
Jim said I'm allowed to swear as much as I
No,
like
you
while telling this
cannot
story.
swear
I said
that.
crap
You
twice
cannot
earlier.
say it.
I just did it again.
He said, where is the effing T-shirt, the Stop Swearing one, which I asked about. I like this guy a lot. I am a big fan of this particular story. And he also said, effing hell, you are going effing slowly. And it's got 100,000 views on Facebook.
I just think, I mean, how far are they going to get with this campaign? I mean, I'm a football fan and I don't swear very often, but when I'm
Well,
watching,
that's a lie already.
that's
You
not
swear
true.
Constantly.
That's such a lie.
Constantly
Anyway,
swear.
when you watch football, it's one of those, and I support Arsenal, so it's incredibly frustrating. You just can't help yourself. So I'm very intrigued by this campaign where, you know, they're saying try and stop swearing, but I mean, it's not very.
How are they?
How do you action that?
How do you prevent swearing through wearing an anti-swearing T-shirt? If anything,
There
it's
was a
going
whole
to make you.
no. There was a whole
want to swear more,
campaign.
Let's
There's
be
not.
honest.
Well, it makes you want to swear at the person wearing the T-shirt, doesn't it? Really, you wouldn't. Someone asked you to stop swearing. Your first instinct is to
F off.
yeah.
That is what you'd say.
That's the polite version
Yeah.
of what you
Please.
Oh,
The F word.
the F word. You want to call them a boob. Sorry, B.
How's that? It's not a boob.
You can't
Okay.
say boob on the radio.
B word.
B word.
You absolute boob. But I love swearing, and I think that swearing is a huge part of football. Like, look at Wayne Rooney when he ran up to the camera and specifically swore at everyone that was watching the TV.
Stephen Fry did a really great documentary about language a few years ago, and it actually said he did an experiment about football. It was about swearing and pain, where actually when you swear, you feel less pain. So they made him put his hands in like cold buckets and things, and he wasn't allowed to swear. And then when he actually felt better. And I just think it's just really interesting how people try and get rid of swearing, but I mean, it might be there for a reason.
There's
It's
also
there to relief.
There's also
you know?
studies that are done into swearing actually helping you at work, relieving stress while you're at work. So I think everyone should go out.
Completely agree with that.
So come
Everyone
on,
should
we
go out
decided
and
that he was
swear
right.
as
He was
much.
completely right swearing because he needed it in that moment.
I think the real thing is that we need to be allowed to swear on the radio. That is
I agree.
the most
No.
frustrating.
Happening.
I disagree
think-
with
I
that.
totally agree with that.
There's
think
children
we need-
listening.
Is there actually children listening?
There
I
very
would
well
like to
could
say
be.
there's children
I
listening.
think there
Come on,
will
James.
be.
What's our demographic?
Me.
Look,
No. I think my
The
dad's
man's
listening.
honest.
Shout out to Paulie B if you're listening.
Yeah, shout out to your family,
Love
man.
you.
Happy birthday soon. Yeah, I think that you should all go to work on Monday and swear at your boss just to release some stress.
Yeah, our work is basically our lecturers. I don't think they would appreciate us swearing to them right in their face. Like,
I think I swear at the lectures quite a lot. Actually.
Jim, we can't swear at them behind their back. That's even worse.
Yeah.
What are you
You know-
saying?
exactly.
Oh, it's much better to do a real passive-aggressive sigh whenever they ask us to do any,
Yeah.
to do any work, is it, Jim?
I think a well-placed swear word can be used for excellent comic effect, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For so many things,
Yeah.
it really can.
Especially if someone wants to slip it at the end of a radio show just before we went off air.
But also, yeah, I mean, we're all done covering news, obviously.
This is news, Jim. This is hard news.
It's been a long day.
It's been a very long
It's been a
week,
long
I
week,
think. It's been a
yeah.
very long week. So it is now Friday, so just, what are your plans for the weekend, guys?
I'm gonna get drunk and
Bloody
swear a
nose.
lot.
Sure.
By yourself?
By myself, yeah. I'm just gonna sit in here and get drunk.
Okay, Okay, well you
already did.
have
You are
fun
already
doing that.
drunk.
I'm already
stop
hungover.
it.
I'm already hungover.
Yeah.
So, Federica, any plans for the weekend?
Oh, come on. It's privacy.
Are you reading Berlusconi's autobiography?
Yeah, I am. That's what I'm doing.
Don't.
I'm just
Should we
having a
swear it again?
Berlusconi autobiography, having my tea, a cup of tea in my room, really
a nice
cozy
romantic
place.
bath
A rice.
with Berlusconi.
Yeah, nice.
What-
In the sharing toilet. Whoa.
You have a shared bath?
Yeah, I do.
Like multiple people use the same bath at the same time.
Right. Okay.
Sarah, yeah.
Exactly what
Yeah.
Berlusconi loves.
Sarah, your weekend?
My weekend. Oh, I mean, anything could happen. There have been talks of a night out, Jim.
Yes,
Look at
Saturday.
Have they been
Taking
talking
a
about
few
that?
It's a girls' night out, Jim. We're not invited.
It is. We are having
all the
a.
honeys together.
I'm having a
Absolutely.
nerd
No, I
night
mean,
on
I-
Saturday.
Nerd night
I
on
should
Saturday.
be
I like that
studying,
plan.
really. Lots of studying. What
We
are
are
you
quite
doing?
studious.
If there's any MPs listening, please call me. I'm desperate.
That sounded weirdly sexual.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Can you
entice
just-
them in. I'm not trying to let them know that I'm writing a feature on the EU, which is still sexual.
Yeah, but-
Granted, your referendums are sexual.
Hey, call up a guy. Call up Richard Corbett. He's one of the most influential guys on EU.
I don't believe in him.
You don't even know him.
No, I don't know who he is. But
Jim, what are your plans for the weekend?
Library.
Library.
Rock and roll.
can anyone out there listening tell that we still have 3 minutes to fill, and we might have come to the end of our topics right now?
I know, we've even done shout out. Well, Sarah's done shout out.
Yeah, Federica. Any shout out, Federica?
No.
I want to shout out to Rupert Murdoch for probably giving me a job one day.
Do you really want to job there?
Who else are you going to work for?
So many other places.
Yeah.
At
Really,
the
dear?
like the Times.
No, I don't wish to comment on my future, but I would like to shout out to the Joshi family in Cheltenham.
Is that the
That is
Joshies?
The Joshies, yeah. And Simba the dog, the gorgeous
Are they
German
listening? Are
Shepherd.
they listening right now?
Oh, I'm sure Simba's listening. He's
He never
just-
misses
Yeah.
the show.
He doesn't.
Big
He
current
doesn't.
affairs
Never.
fan. Big
He
current
does.
affairs fan. Oh yeah, shout out to Jasmine Rapson for free pizza last night as well.
Oh God, yeah, we went
That
back
was
to her
free
house
pizza?
last night. No, we went back to her house last night after a night out, and she actually hosted at 2:30 in the morning, where she provided us with her gorgeous dog Pippin, and also fed us pizza and gave us squash, and sent us on our merry way back home.
What a lovely friend.
And we almost watched the Midsummer Murders box set.
And all Love Actually.
And all, yeah.
And then we heard a parent moving
sorry.
upstairs.
And we
And
got scared
scarpered.
and
I'm not even part of this.
quit.
What is this? Oh.
We got smashed last night without you, Jim.
I know.
I'm sorry.
But you were at a gig,
I know, I was
so,
at
you know.
Camden Town.
You are our superior, so we
Yeah.
can't bring you with us.
It was my first exposure to Shoreditch yesterday. It was interesting.
It was
Ah,
interesting.
it was
It was
great.
interesting. Yeah, it's mine
so
as well.
many beautiful men.
That's
There's
very
so many.
There were some handsome
I love a
guys.
good cliched hipster.
Mm.
It's my favourite.
There were
Scandi beer.
a lot of vinyls walking around.
good. Any song requests to end the show, guys?
Oh, there's got to be. Oh, what about a bit of One Direction? You can never go wrong with a
Yeah.
bit of
Yeah,
One
we have
Direction at the end
discussed
of
One
the show.
Direction.
So which song by One Direction, Ali, is Alex your favourite?
You call me Ali one
I
more
did, I
time,
did.
honestly, I'm coming through that glass.
Some of you are
that,
like a twin.
that glass will not save you, my friend.
You are. You are twins.
We are not twins.
You are.
You are.
Pick a song.
Yeah.
One Direction
Alex, pick a
song.
One
Song,
Direction
any
song.
Pick a One Direction
I
song.
don't know any One Direction songs.
Don't
Okay.
lie. There's Little Things, Story of My Life.
Oh,
Little
I love
Things
Little
is
Thing.
so
Put Little
soppy.
Thing, yeah.
Let's play Little Things, shall we?
I can just sing it for you guys if you want.
Oh, that would be delightful.
This is like the end of a nightclub where they're trying to get everyone out of the club at the end.
This is
They're trying to
Little
get
Things
everyone
with One
away from the
Direction. But
radio.
before we say that, everyone of you say goodbye to our little grateful audience.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Nice to meet you.
Nice.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, totally. Sarah,
Bye.
don't think,
I'm
there we
really
go.
terribly sorry for
That's
the
goodbye from me as
shoddy
well.
ending.
Have a good weekend, guys.
This is a classic
It is
ending.
One Direction with Little
Classic
Things.
ending.
Oh, shush, guys. One Direction with Little Things.
Bye, James.